Be me, living near Blacksburg, VA. Be around 18 years old at the time, and have a Bronco. Fuck yeah! Me and a couple of friends, both male and girl, are bored, hanging out at Jody's house. Not actual name. Jody has 3 brothers who hunt, often at night, which I don't think is legal in this state. So they have this thermal camera. The thing is old and huge, and we decided it's a great idea to go and hunt ghosts with this thing. One friend suggests the isolated place called Poverty Creek, which is in McCoy, as in Hatfield and McCoy's. Some of the family are still buried there. It's way back in the sticks. About 5 of us hop in my Bronco to get ourselves spooked. The area has a creek, but the road is also called Poverty Creek. Don't live there anymore, by the way. It's behind an old beaten up Baptist church and down a gravel road, which turns into dirt eventually. The whole road has only 4 or 5 houses on it, all of which are abandoned, like no doors or windows on them abandoned. It's about 12:30 when we get up near the creek itself. Jody is sitting in the front seat and turns on the thermal, looking through it, his eye roll through. Just to spook everyone, I turn off all of the lights on the truck, getting a good scream out of my friends. I turn it back on and Jody calls out, Wait. I ask her what the fuck she is freaking out about. She says she saw a bright spot in the trees. I tell her what a fucking deer is, although she isn't biting. We are stopped at this point. She points the lens to the floorboard to readjust it. All of us are just sort of waiting for her. She points it back up through the front windshield. She screams like a banshee and throws the thermal camera on the floor. Everyone in the car shits a brick and a half. Now she's wailing, covering her face, and has curled her legs up onto the seat. She was pretty small. One of her brothers is in the back seat and is pissed that she might have broken the camera. Everybody is yelling to get out of here, and I am fairly shaken up myself after that scream. I decide to drive back to Jody's house. The shock kinda killed the mood for me. Jody won't talk. She's still curled up in seat. Her brother checked on the camera and is now trying to ask what she saw. Every time he asks, she just shakes her head. Finally we get back, and I drop Jody and her brother off. Nobody really wants to do anything else tonight, I guess. That's the end of the night for me. But Jody's brother, I will call him Kyle, relays the rest of the events to me. Jody has calmed down some, but will not sleep alone. She convinces her mother to sleep in a bed with her. Around 3 a.m., the mom wakes up. She turns her head to look at the clock, which is on Jody's side of the bed. There is a figure standing over Jody. It's just under 6 feet tall, and the texture of it is like static on a TV. Like, you can't focus on any of the detail, just the overall shape. Mom does not move. The figure does not move. It's just looking at Jody. Jody's mom wants to scream, but she feels herself nodding off. She falls back to sleep. In the morning, Jody finally reveals what she saw through the camera. It was a human figure standing on all fours, with its arms and legs not underneath the body. It was like it was imitating a spider. It was looking right at her. That's all I got. I did not see shit, but from what I heard, I really don't want to. I grew up in Cape Cod. I spent several summers as a seasonal bike patrol officer on the Outer Cape. The Cape gets insanely crowded during the summer season. If you go out far enough, there is a few smaller towns that can still feel a bit quieter, even during the busy season. Most nights were a big nothing. It was late August and extremely humid and foggy as hell. I was wrapping up a shift when dispatch said a group of kids had reported seeing a woman near an old beach access. They said she was crouching in the tall grass near the bathrooms and trying to talk to them. One of the kids said she was trying to get them to come into the dunes to play. I was the closest unit. It didn't sound like a high-stakes call, so it seemed appropriate that I could likely handle it by myself on my bike. I said I would swing by and check it out. I assumed it was probably someone who was either high or confused, maybe just lost. The road down to the beach cut off into a dirt path that ran parallel to the dunes. The fog had rolled in pretty thick by then, so the visibility was really low. You couldn't even see the ocean, even though you could hear it crashing right next to you. The beach lot was completely empty. Not a single other person around. I rode up slow and coasted to a stop near the bathrooms. They were still unlocked, as expected. I did a quick walkthrough, calling into the bathrooms and checking the stalls, but nobody was in either one. I remember coming back out and scanning the dunes and tall grass behind the building when I spotted what looked like a narrow trail that appeared to have been trampled recently. I radioed in and told dispatch I was on scene. They asked if I needed backup. I told them not yet, that I was just checking things out. Then I started onto the grass trail. The trail dipped behind the dunes and into a patch of taller beach grass. I could only see maybe 5 to 10 feet ahead of me. Everything beyond that just bled into the fog. About 30 or 40 feet in, I found what looked like a little camp. Not a fire pit or a tent or anything, just a mess of stuff laid out under a collapsed beach umbrella. Candy wrappers, mismatched shoes, a couple of empty plastic water bottles. No obvious signs of alcohol or needles, just weird junk. Some of it looked like it had been there for a while, but definitely not all of it. I stepped back and reached for my radio again to request some backup. As I keyed the mic, I heard something shift behind me. Grass rustling. I turned around and that's when I saw her. There was an older woman crouched maybe 15 feet away, chest deep in the tall grass like she was trying to hide. She was dressed in layers like she had been sleeping outside, hair tangled up, just squatting there, staring at me. There was a long silence between us. I wasn't even completely convinced she knew I had seen her, so I called out and asked if she needed help. Nothing. Then she lifted one hand and pointed. I did not understand what she meant by it. She didn't speak, just kept pointing at me. And then she lost it. She started flailing around and making this wailing sound. It wasn't words, just high-pitched, panicked noise. She started stomping around in circles and then would suddenly stop and talk to no one, like she was in the middle of an argument with somebody who was not even there. I backed up, turned around, and ran back down the path toward my bike. In the process, I got completely turned around for a second because of how thick the fog had gotten. But eventually, I got myself back on the path, found my bike, and called it in. Another cruiser eventually showed up. A couple of officers went into the grass with flashlights and found her about 10 minutes later. She'd calmed down and was just wandering around barefoot, mumbling to herself. It turns out she had gone missing from a senior memory care unit 2 towns over, had walked almost 4 miles. They said she had late-stage dementia. I guess she told them repeatedly that she was looking for her daughters. She said she was supposed to meet them at the beach. I guess in her head, it all made sense. This is probably the scariest thing that's happened to me, and it was all due to poor decision making. Be high school me. I'm a sophomore. I'm American. I moved to a new school in Germany. I am living in a small village in Germany. There are about 100 people in this village. About 7 of them are American. 2 of them are children my age. 1 is an emo nonconformist. The other is a socially inept kid who knows a lot about demonology. We'll just call him Demon Boy. Demon Boy is a freshman who's about 6'1" and is pretty lanky. Has a very specific speech impediment. I start getting to know Demon Boy. He talks a lot about astral projecting and trying to leave this plane of existence. He says really edgy things really awkwardly, so they never quite have the impact that he wants them to. After about a week of knowing him, he always starts conversations with, "Anon, do you think we have common interests? Do you think we are good friends?" Always asking me for advice, even though I am only slightly less autistic than him. This is just the introduction. School starts up. I start meeting people. I never really hang out with the Demon Boy at school. He comes over to my house just about every day after school. I hang out with him every time he comes over for a couple of weeks. One day, I don't feel like hanging out. He comes over at the usual time after school. I tell him that I don't feel like hanging out. He lingers in my doorway and tries to guilt me to come outside. Says things like, Wow, real friends support the other whenever they need it. He's there for a good 5 minutes before I finally just decide to come outside. As soon as I come out, he starts acting as if he didn't guilt me to come and hang out with him. He asks me throwaway questions like, how was school, and gets throwaway answers back from me. After 10 minutes of me being outside, he says, well, I gotta go. This dude just wasted my time. This goes on for about 3 months. One day, I get invited to a party by bro friends. I come home at around 9 o'clock. My mom tells me that she was worried. I ask her why. She says an angry boy came over and interrogated her. She says he kept on saying, are you sure Anon isn't in his room? Kept on asking her if he could check to see. She kept on refusing to let him. Eventually, my confused mother did let him check. Demon Boy leaves my house without saying a word. This is about when I start thinking Demon Boy was a little bit more than socially inept. The next day, Demon Boy comes over. I answer the door. He says that he wants to go on a walk with me. I agree. I confront him about not trusting my mom. Tries to be edgy and says, I don't know who I can trust anymore Anon. We walk into these German woods for about half an hour before I start getting paranoid. This is how it happens in the movies. What if he wants to kill me? I tell him I need to go home. He stares at me blankly for a good 10 seconds, and he says, okay, I'll stay here though. Get the fuck out of there. Start seeing less and less of Demon Boy until he stops coming over at all. Bro friends from school start coming over more and more. I just stop worrying about Demon Boy. One night, bro friends spend the night. On the second floor of my house, which is on a hill above other parts of the village. Get high as fuck and play Super Smash Bros. Have to blow smoke out the window. It's about 11 p.m. Friday night. My friend says that there's a tall guy just standing in the village graveyard that's about 20 houses down from my house. Thinks the guy is just staring at the house. I'm thinking that he's probably just paranoid from the weed. 1 a.m. Tall guy is standing in our neighbor's yard, staring at us. It's Demon Boy. Holy shit, what do we do? Me and 2 bro friends are in my house. Demon Boy is outside. I decide to quietly go outside and confront him. We all go outside. Walk to where we can see Demon Boy. As soon as he sees us, he books it down the hill. We are still scared out of our minds, but I realize how fucking amazing it is being high and looking at the night sky in the forest. Tell bro friends to forget about Demon Boy and that we should just walk around my village for a while. Grab the bowl and the weed. Walking around the streets at night, stoned out of our minds. We are walking around my village for about 30 minutes before we decide to look for a bench. We figure out that the only nearby bench is not too far from the graveyard. We see the bench down the street we are on. As we get closer, we can hear talking. Start getting paranoid, but self-aware enough to think it's just the drugs. We get to the bench. I start paying more attention to the talking. I can make out some English words. I make out a speech impediment. Oh shit. I tell my bros to keep quiet. We sneak to the outside of graveyard walls. Demon Boy is standing in the graveyard, muttering to himself. He is standing erect, looking at no stone in particular, just muttering to himself. A few of the words I made out were Crowley and my name. We can't stand there all night. I signal the bros that we need to leave. Get back home. Pass out. It's the next day. I go to school. Demon Boy is not there. I don't want to provoke him, so after school, I don't try to go to his house. I don't even think about Demon Boy until Friday comes around. The doorbell rings. I answer the door. It's Demon Boy. He looks really sad. Asks if I can hang out. I'm a bit in shock, so I agree. We walk over to the usual hanging spot, which is a German school playground. The whole walk over there, he does not say a word. We sit on one of those school picnic table things. I nervously ask him what's up. He throws a knife on the table. My heart starts sinking. I wanted to hurt you a while ago. My heart is sinking even deeper. I figured out that I'm better than you though. I'm going to do something, and nothing you do can stop me. I am freaking out in my head. He walks off and leaves his knife. I throw it away, because fuck leaving it on a playground table. Monday rolls around. Base police want to ask me a few questions at school. They tell me that Demon Boy has run away, and want to know if I would know why he would do that. I just tell them that he was a strange kid. To this day, I have not heard from Demon Boy, but his mom was German, so he may still be out there. Also, sorry it didn't end with him dead or attacking me or some shit. He just ran away. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. My very first job was a radio DJ at a small hometown radio station in the mid-1990s. This was a tiny building out in the middle of a field with a 500-foot antenna out back and a single road from the main road to the front door. The transmitter was right behind my studio, behind sound deadening glass, and had a light bulb that was always on. The station was so small that you could see the light bulb in the transmitter room all the way from the driveway/roadway. There were only two doors, the front door and the back door in the transmitter room. The door did not even have a handle on the outside, and it was always locked from the inside. It's impossible to enter that door from the outside. I worked the evening shift from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. After my shift, we actually went off air for the night. I was always the last person there, so after I went off the air, I had to pull commercials for the first hour or two of the morning show, clean dishes, finish up some production work, etc. After working there for a year or so, I had racked up a couple of weird experiences. Shadows scurrying around at the corner of my vision, lights turning off and on. One evening, after getting in and taking over the board, I was just sitting there preparing myself mentally for the next 5 hours. I looked up, out the studio doors towards the front door, and I saw the perfect shadow shape of a man who was probably 6 foot tall. It was there and then not. I went to my boss. She was not a nice person, even on her nicest days. I said, "So, I have a weird question." She sighed and looked at me, expecting who knows what. "Have you ever felt like someone was here who wasn't?" My boss yelled across the building for someone to come into her office. When that person arrived, she tilted her head at me. He's seen Jimmy. Supposedly, everyone had seen Jimmy, the original owner of the radio station. He popped in from time to time. He won't hurt you. He's just checking in on the station. So, from then on, Jimmy would make his appearances. His was a harmless presence. My studio faced a never unused studio, and he would flash the lights on and off a few times. I'd say, "Hi Jimmy, everything's going well," and it would stop. He turned a water faucet on once. He whispered my name in my ear one night, which freaked me out. At least, I think it was him. You see, there was another malevolent being that also lived there at the station. It didn't have a name, and it was about shin high. This one always gave me a really bad feeling. It was the one who would dart beside me, its shadow just in the corner of my eye. I always knew it was there, just because I would feel downright freaked out. One night in particular was the most scared I've ever been. Here it is, 30-ish or so years later, and I still cannot explain it. As soon as everyone left the building for the night, I got that feeling like it was there. I just turned on all the lights, turned the music up, and tried to ignore it. The longer the night went on, though, the worse it got. Lights were flashing everywhere. A dot matrix printer in the sales office started going on its own, something that never happened before, and that office was locked. Then, ceiling tiles started moving up, as if someone hit them with a broom handle. They started closest to me from my studio, down the hall, and ended at the front door, which was locked. Then, the front door opened. A locked fucking door opened. I went down the hall to close and relock it. When I did, I saw through the door window that there was a coffee cup and a cigar on the front stoop. There was no reason for them to be there. On my way back to the studio, I got a big burst of cigar smell, like an invisible smoke cloud, right in my face. I knew that my usual duties were required, but I did not care at this point. I went off the air, grabbed my keys, and noped right the fuck out of there. I ran to my car, backed up, and looked through the front door. A figure was standing inside, silhouetted in front of the transmitter light. I peeled out and went straight home. Now, all of that is screwy, but it's not the most unexplainable thing. Is it 100% impossible someone didn't somehow sneak in and play a very elaborate prank on me? No. There is a slight, minuscule chance someone did, but to this day, I don't know how. It was an old, tiny building, but I still hold the possibility that it could have been a prank. I got home and told my mom this whole story. My heart was still pounding. She was all, "Shoo-wee, well, it's bedtime." So, I go to my bedroom and dial up a BBS to write someone what had happened to me. As I was typing up the story, my modem speaker turned on. If you're old enough to remember dial-up modems, you know that the speaker does not just turn on once the connection is made. They wouldn't even turn back on if someone in the house picked up the phone. You just get a lot of bad data on the screen and your modem would disconnect. The speaker turns on and a voice comes from the speaker, mixed with the static of the data connection. It screeched, "Help me." The speaker then turned off and nothing else changed on my screen. The speaker turning on and the voice coming out is solidified in my brain. I remember the screech like it was yesterday. I have no explanation for it. My mom was the only other person in the house, and she wouldn't have done something like that. She couldn't have done something like that. It was the scariest night of my life. I am as skeptical as you can be about anything ghost or UFO related, but that night is beyond my ability to explain. As kind of a footnote to all of this, I go back to that station every now and then when I go home to visit. I still know some people who work there. Jimmy is still active and is well known by the staff. The little scary one. No one else has reported seeing him. This might not seem scary, but it sure gave me the willies. I get a tip from a friend that some electronics and shit got dumped in the back of my little development. He rides around on a bike and just happened to pass this shit. He claims to have seen some NES games and an air hockey table, among other things very neatly arranged in boxes. One day, I grab the guy and we drive down there. The back of the neighborhood is essentially abandoned. All of the builders just dropped the lots back there years ago and just never came back. There is overgrown brush and shit going into the road. I come to the cul-de-sac where all of the stuff is. It's an absolute catastrophe back there, like the Hulk found the stuff and went to town on it. A box appears to have been thrown from one end of the circle to the other, with its contents strewn across the road. Air hockey table broken clean in half, but otherwise okay. There is an NES that has had its top half completely ripped off haphazardly. A few of the games have cookie-cutter chunks missing from them. There is a Sega Saturn also ripped in half. So, naturally, we assume that some weirdo came back there and let off some steam. Not so bad. One of the games was intact, and that is all we could salvage. But wait, there's more. About a week later, my friend tells me that there is even more shit left back there now. We journey there again, hoping to beat the Vidya Destroyer to his prize. The mess from before is still present, and there is a bunch of new things scattered in the grass and bushes surrounding the cul-de-sac. PS2 controllers in the roads, an old DVD player loose in the grass, quite a distance back from the rest of the stuff, a child's car seat relatively unharmed, something that I assume is a small tub for bathing an infant filled with yellowish brown liquid. I stayed the fuck away from this one. There are assorted pieces of dolls all over, literally 50 plus VHS tapes scattered about, ranging from porn to episodes of TV shows, not counting an entire box full of them too. We don't really find anything of interest. We call it quits after a while, more out of worry that someone else will show up and go nuts. We are driving home one day and figure, what the hell, let's take a look and see if whoever's dumping left more shit. All of the VHS tapes are gone, otherwise about the same as far as we can tell. We notice a bunch of weird graffiti on the way in, on the pavement, and a few street signs visible. I've got a bad feeling about this scoop, old buddy, old pal. We look back to our parked car just in case. There is another car coming down the street towards us. This is bumfuck nowhere. Nobody lives this far back, and there can't be much of a reason to head off on this road just to see the dead end. They're going very slowly, and turn off just before entering the cul-de-sac. Both of us are a little shaken. We agree to pack it up and hoof it before they come back. It's getting to the point where I wish there wasn't more. I didn't think it would be this much to type. I mentioned this little spot to a different pal in conversation. He's eager to have a look himself. I figure, why not? Surely nothing could happen. For whatever dumbass reason, we decide to go at night. There are very few streetlights back here. It's dark as fuck, even with headlights. We reach the turn to get onto the road leading to the cul-de-sac, and there is already weird shit going on. Two women in white dresses are on the side of the road, no car in sight, doing what looks like picking the tall grasses and shit out of the ground in the darkness. They look right at us as we turn and pass them. We turn down the radio and slow a bit, just in case somebody is already there. As we reach the turn-in, we spot a black car parked in the very middle of the circle. The windows are pitch black, nobody around the car in sight. We turn the opposite way. We figure it's best not to investigate this. We look off into the trees nearby, see the two women standing there. They must have followed us a bit on the way back there a bit. There is another time that isn't really worth green texting. We went back another time to find a different car parked the same way as the other one, with all of its doors wide open, without a soul around anywhere. It wasn't exactly the type of car you just leave unattended either. It was very nice. In the end, it's not so scary to me anymore, but something weird is probably going on back there that I would rather not get involved with. I am a kid at the time that this happened to me. I am having a normal childhood, living in a fixer-upper two-family home that my father bought so he could fix it up and sell it. Nothing out of the ordinary happens for the first year or two. One day, we come home from grocery shopping with the family. Notice tennis shoes with bones in them on the front steps. There is oil all over the stairs. There is oil on the carpet inside too. They used the mail slot to get it inside. My grandmother says it's Centeria. I am Cuban American, by the way, and that someone has cursed the house. I am scared out of my mind because at the time, I am only about 8 years old. My dad just dismissed it as someone pranking us. A few weeks later, shit starts to go down. Me and my brother shared a room in the attic. It was spacious, and we got a separate room for toys and a pool table, plus a Sega Genesis, so fuck yeah. One night, we are just in our room. We hear floor creaking in the playroom. It's an old house, so it's pretty easy to dismiss. The creaking turns into stomping. We start to shit bricks. I ask my brother if he hears the stomping too. He says that he does. All of a sudden, we hear the billiard balls crash. It's like 3 AM, so what the fuck? I nope the fuck out with my brother. I grow up here and decide to check it out with him. We open the door to the playroom, and we see that the balls on the pool table are racked. We never left the balls racked, and we just heard them crash like 4 times. Nope. We slam the door and jump in bed, and I pray with my brother for like an hour till we both fall asleep. A different day. Be outside in the backyard playing basketball with neighbors and my brother. Parents are next door shooting the shit with neighbors' parents in their backyard. We finish the game, and tell the neighbor to go inside and get some high C orange from the kitchen counter. He comes back with the juice and asks who the old black guy in our kitchen was. What the fuck? Me and my brother are confused. We look at the kitchen window and see an old black guy in the window. He was dressed in 1930s attire. He looks at us and takes a bite out of a pepper. That bit still puzzles me to this day. Then he just disappears into thin air. Nope. I have more, but I am going to bed soon. Keep the thread alive, and if it's still around in the morning, I'll dump the rest of the stories. B still a kid. B in my sister's room looking for something. She had one of those life-size Barbies. I see the Barbie's arm move in my peripheral vision. I dismiss it as my mind playing tricks on me. Now her head moves slightly. I look at the Barbie, and its head is jerking violently from left to right, like someone shaking their head no, but it was a jerking motion and was not human-like at all. I noped the fuck out and did not go back in her room until they threw that Barbie away.